While China has almost completely banned gasoline-powered motorbikes in the inner city of big cities, in developed countries, people are gradually shifting strongly to electric cars to replace gasoline-powered vehicles. However, there is still a very paradoxical Donald Trump when cutting the electric vehicle support policy makes many people question. So today, let's find out about this issue with Kaihuan Insights. If you are someone who pays attention to the situation in the US, you probably already know that the Democratic Party is the party that strongly supports policies to encourage people to buy electric cars. During Biden's term in office, Americans not only received financial support to switch from gasoline cars to electric cars, but also had access to subsidized programs to replace batteries or charge electric cars. You can pin this story here. I will come back to it later in the video. Don't worry. In contrast to the Democratic Party, which loves electric cars, on the day of his inauguration on January 20th, 2025, U.S. President Donald Trump immediately targeted electric cars by canceling the 2021 executive order passed by his predecessor. In the executive order, Mr. Trump announced that he would stop allocating unused government funds for electric vehicle charging stations of the remaining $5 billion. Calling for an end to state exemptions for zero-emission vehicles by 2035, the president also said his administration would consider ending tax incentives for electric vehicles. Reading the news, many people thought the New York billionaire was indeed a contrarian. What era is this that people are still so arrogant in banning electric vehicles and making things difficult? And it didn't take long for environmental activists to take to the streets to protest against Trump's dictatorship. Of course, it's not just about street protests, and some experts also analyze the damage to the U.S. when Trump turns his back on electric vehicles. Aside from the obvious environmental issues, countries like China, Germany, and South Korea have poured billions of dollars into developing electric vehicles and related infrastructure. Trump's decision puts the U.S. in a passive position. China already accounts for 60% of the global electric vehicle market and controls much of the battery supply chain. If the U.S. fails to catch up, it will not only lose its share of the auto export market, but also become dependent on foreign technology. This seems to go against the slogan, "Make America Great Again." Countless giant corporations such as Tesla and General Motors have invested heavily in research and production of electric vehicles. The federal government's withdrawal of support leaves these companies stranded in a fiercely competitive global market. Elon Musk himself has publicly criticized the policy as a dangerous step backward. Trump is simply being unreasonable in this regard. Of course, even though he is a bit of a jerk, but the man has been through ups and downs dozens of times, gone bankrupt, and then restored to his billionaire status. So why did he become president of the United States twice? There must be a reason for this action. To understand why Donald Trump chose to step on the brakes when Germany and the United States were rushing forward in the Green Transition War, just look back at the environmental policy of his first term. Since taking office in 2017, Trump has been deeply skeptical of climate science, claiming that climate change is a hoax created by China to undermine American industry. During his tenure, he has withdrawn the United States from the Paris Agreement on climate change, rolled back a series of environmental regulations enacted by the Obama administration, and shown strong support for the fossil fuel industry, especially oil and coal. And this is the first issue we need to pay attention to. The rapid transition to electric vehicles has seriously threatened traditional industries such as oil exploration, petrochemical refining, internal combustion engine manufacturing, traditional auto repair and maintenance, along with millions of related jobs. As the federal government focuses all its efforts on developing electric vehicles, the oil and gas industry, which is a pillar of the U.S. economy, especially in states such as Texas, Oklahoma, and North Dakota, has been in crisis, with massive layoffs and reduced investment. Mr. Trump's policies, which prioritize practical economics over green idealism, have helped prolong and slow the process of eliminating the fossil fuel industry. This means protecting millions of American jobs and avoiding the kind of chain splitting that can happen when a major industry is strangled too quickly without a strong enough replacement. What's more, the electric vehicle industry is heavily dependent on materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel, which the United States cannot currently produce on a large scale, and for which China controls much of the global supply. China is not only the world's largest producer of lithium batteries, but also owns or controls most of the mineral mines in Africa, South America, and Asia. Massively promoting electric vehicles without controlling the supply of batteries will inadvertently make the U.S. more dependent on its strategic rival in China. Meanwhile, Mr. Trump's policy of aiming for American self-sufficiency has shown vigilance and determination in not allowing China to manipulate this essential supply chain. Canceling the electric vehicle development goals is Mr. Trump's way of curbing the thirst for raw materials that the U.S. does not have strong enough domestic sources. Mr. Trump encouraged localization of production before expanding the scale. Similar to the story of the real estate decline in the U.S., in 2008, the electric vehicle industry is now considered a bubble in terms of media, investment, and expectations. Many electric vehicle startups have collapsed in the past 3 years, from Last Hour Motor, Canoo to Nikola, when they could not meet expectations and continued to lose money. Even giants like Ford and General Motors have reported billions of dollars in losses from investing in electric vehicles. Trump's policy of canceling the electric vehicle development target is also an invisible move to curb the development of this industry bubble, helping to rebalance real demand and supply, reducing the risk of a financial system collapse due to false expectations about the future of the industry. If you have been following Cahoin Insights for a long time, you probably know about an important point that is often overlooked. Electric vehicles are not completely clean as advertised. If the grid is still running on coal or gas, switching from gasoline to electric cars simply shifts pollution from the tailpipes of gasoline cars to power plants. Plus, millions of electric cars charging at the same time can create power grid overload, especially in the summer, causing states like California to experience rolling blackouts. Trump understands that the country is not ready in terms of electric vehicle infrastructure to handle a massive electric vehicle revolution. Freezing the charging station and electric vehicle expansion equations is a way to buy the U.S. more time to strengthen the grid, build more nuclear power plants, and invest in energy storage before moving on to the next phase. And remember the budget story for supporting electric vehicles that I mentioned at the beginning of the video? This is also the reason why Mr. Trump is not very interested in the story of electric vehicles. As a billionaire who grew up in the era of paper money, he is really not interested in the budget money being evaporated for a vehicle that has not been proven to work stably. Specifically, for every new gasoline car purchased or exchanged for an electric car, consumers in the U.S. will receive a not insignificant amount of support of $7,500 if buying a brand new electric car, and $4,000 if buying a used car. According to estimates by the Cato Institute, a public policy research group based in Washington, D.C., if this policy continues to be expanded, the U.S. budget will evaporate up to $2 billion in the next 10 years. And if it continues after that, this number will grow exponentially. Withdrawing this fund would help the federal budget avoid a huge expense whose effectiveness is still unclear. In the context of the U.S. being burdened with a national debt of more than $34,000 billion, cutting spending on uncertain projects is completely reasonable, especially in a post-pandemic economy still struggling to recover with Social Security, healthcare, and defense programs requiring huge budgets. And finally, how did Americans react? Surprisingly, they did not oppose the policy of the White House owner except for California. The truth is that despite a series of preferential policies, electric cars are still more expensive than traditional gasoline cars. Charging infrastructure is lacking, charging time is long, battery life is questionable, and battery replacement costs are extremely expensive. Many Americans, especially in rural areas, still do not have the need to use electric cars and are wary. A 2024 survey by Pew Research showed that up to 68% of Americans feel that electric cars are not convenient enough for daily use, and more than 50% said that the government under democracy is forcing people to give up gasoline cars too quickly. The Trump administration has clearly shown a willingness to listen to market sentiment, rather than to follow political trends or tradition. Instead of imposing bans on gasoline-powered vehicles or forcing businesses to switch en masse, he has chosen to let the market decide for itself, avoiding too much administrative intervention, which is contrary to the free market spirit of America. Donald Trump's policy of canceling electric vehicle targets and freezing charging station funds may at first glance seem like a regression in the context of green globalization, but it is actually a pragmatic move, protecting national interests in a very American way, from saving the budget, protecting jobs, resisting dependence on China, to responding appropriately to market and infrastructure realities. All of which shows that this is a policy that is not simply anti-environment. Instead, it's a cautionary tale about a technology that can easily lead to overlooking the practical. Electric cars may still be the future, but that future should arrive only when America is truly ready. And until then, Donald Trump hitting the brakes might be the smartest move. So do you think Donald Trump's move is right or wrong? Let us know in the comments below. Now bye, and see you again.